Today, I wanted to talk with you about something that one of our mentors said to us early on. I was sitting across the table in this tiny little Mexican restaurant in Oklahoma. This was before we met Rick, and this man and this woman were talking to us. And I kind of had this moment. I think it was about 3 weeks into Discovery, and I was just at this table kind of weeping and just like, man, my life is over. Everything that I worked to build is gone. I've crushed my wife. My family is uncertain. It was a dark time. I had been suicidal probably a week or two before that, but this was a moment where it was all setting in, and it was all becoming very real. The numbness was wearing off, you could say. And she looked at me and she said, "Samuel, you need to understand something. God will never waste our sorrows." And I kind of looked at her with, man, that's a great cliche. What does that mean? And she said, the choice is up to you whether or not you're going to go through this for nothing, or if you're going to go through this and experience change and recalibration and really essentially resurrection to your marriage. She said, the choice is yours. And it's so true. And if you don't believe in God, I get it. I hope you're not turned off by that statement or some of the things that I'm going to say to you. If you don't believe in God, then I would just encourage you to understand that you don't want to go through this whole ordeal for nothing. That there's something to be gained out of this. And that's my hope, and that's my prayer for every one of you, whether your marriage is restored or whether, unfortunately, maybe it ends in divorce. I hope that you don't go through this, both unfaithful and betrayed, for nothing. I hope that you don't go through probably one of the most gut-wrenching, life-stopping ordeals you could ever go through, just for nothing. I really don't think that God wastes our sorrows. I believe that there is a breakthrough. There's something that God will do. There's something that can be done in your life if you will go through this with the mentality of, I'm going to go through this and get every ounce of wisdom, insight, life change, recalibration that I can possibly get. But I'll tell you, there's lots of people. They don't. They go through this and they really do waste the sorrow that they experience. And if you're watching these blogs, I'm willing to guarantee you've probably gone through an incredible amount of sorrow and hurt and devastation and pain. Your life will never be the same again. That doesn't mean that it won't be great. It doesn't mean that when I say it will never be the same again, you're never going to go back to the naivety or the life that you once had. It can be richer. It can be fuller. It can be more rewarding because now your eyes are going to be opened like they've never been opened before. And I can hear the cuss words and I can hear the back talk of, yeah, let me tell you about my life, or yeah, you're full of crap, and if you knew. I know, I have been on the other side of that camera. Absolutely. I have cussed at people like me and said, you're full of crap and other things. You don't get it. You don't know what I'm dealing with. But this woman looked at me. She was in her early 60s, and she had been through very similar circumstances. And she said, you don't have to waste this. This can change your life. So I've given it a lot of thought, and I've thought through it a little bit, and I want to give you 3 ways to waste your sorrows. And this is for betrayed, and this is for unfaithful. Here's 3 ways that you can waste your sorrow and not get anything out of this. Number 1 is just kind of hurry through it. Go back to autopilot. Don't change much. Maybe talk about the affair a little bit and then rush right back into life as you knew it. Maybe same job, maybe same travel schedule, maybe same, life approach. But if you want to waste your sorrow and if you want to not learn anything about this, just kind of hurry up and, rush through recovery. Don't do an EMS weekend or an online course. Don't read many of the blogs. Or watch many of the blogs. Don't read many articles. Just do the minimum and kind of hurry up. And then I really believe you'll waste a lot of this pain. I don't think you'll get out of it what you could. I don't think you'll experience the true life change that infidelity can bring. I think if you hurry up, if you don't get too deep into recovery principles and don't do much recovery work, I think you waste the opportunity for your life to be changed in a way that you will look back and go, man, I see life so differently now. Because I do. I see parenting differently. I see marriage differently. I see life differently. I see God differently. I see my fellow man differently. I just have a whole new respect for life. You want to talk about gratitude. I am more thankful now than I've ever been. But it came through having a desire to not waste the sorrow that Samantha and I had to go through. The second way to waste your sorrow is to not investigate why this happened. It's to not become somewhat of an archaeologist and sift through the bones and sift through the wreckage of everything that's gone on. If you want to waste your sorrow, don't do that. Again, hurry up. Number two, don't try and figure out why this happened because you want to just move on down the road. You've really got to find out, why did this happen? You've got to be willing to put in hours of talking about it, because if you don't know why it happened, how do you know how to prevent it from happening again? If you don't know why it happened, how can you, the betrayed, experience healing that you need after this devastation? And how can you, the unfaithful, understand what led you to do this in the first place? And how do you prevent it from ever happening again? And how do you get healthy? For me, I had to find out, why did I do this? I was self-absorbed. I was wrapped up in my own world. I was in love with the applause and the attention of the crowd. I loved just the affection of my affair partner and other people. I wasn't getting it from God. I wasn't getting it from myself. I was getting it from everybody else. So I had to sift through how this happened to not waste what I was going through. Number three, another way to waste your sorrow is, I joke, but I say, Craigslist this. Just do it the cheapest way you can, with as little investment as possible, with as little heartfelt commitment as possible. And I say that mostly to the unfaithful. If you just kind of phone it in, as they say, if you just kind of do the bare minimum, you're not going to experience the transformation that you can experience. And I know money's tight, recovery work is not cheap. Trying to find good books or take courses online or what have you, man, it's always an investment of finances in one way or another. But I'll tell you, you don't have to waste all this. And I'll kind of end with a story I'll never forget. I played baseball all my life. I played high school and then I received a scholarship, played professional baseball. But I'll never forget, in high school, I really was starting to take off. And I was kind of this all-American pitcher, and I think I was like a freshman playing on the varsity, and this catcher, crazy guy, his name was Chris, he had kind of a screw loose, but I'll never forget, it was like a playoff game, and I was pitching my guts out, and this guy hit a home run off me, and we were still winning, but I just was so heartbroken that this guy hit a home run, and he walked out to the mound, and there was a sea of people watching us, and I was the youngest kid probably on both teams. And he walked up with a new ball from the umpire, and he stood on the mound and he said, "Stop your crying. You wipe those tears away. Taste your tears. You understand me? Taste them. See what they taste like. And never forget what this feels like. Never forget how humiliated you feel." And I was feeling humiliated more at his talk, because he was yelling at me and all these people could hear it. And he was screaming at me, and he's like, "Don't ever forget what this feels like. That will help you not keep giving up home runs your whole life. You understand me?" And he was probably 17 or 18. I think I was maybe 15 or so. And he was this big force. But I want to kind of have that moment with you. Don't forget what this feels like. I know it hurts like hell. I know that, man, in a moment, you can just fall apart. Your whole world has been rocked. But don't forget what this feels like. Don't forget the hurt. Don't forget the pain. Don't forget the embarrassment. Don't go back to life as you knew it. Don't go back to autopilot, man. Wake up to the new life that God has for you. Wake up to the new life that is available to you. And I know you'll fight me on this and say, "But my old life was great." Yeah, probably had some greatness to it. But you can't go back. You have to go into the new life, the new season that's available for you. And I know you can't control what your unfaithful spouse does. You can barely control maybe what you're doing if you're a betrayed spouse. And if you're unfaithful, you certainly can't control what your betrayed spouse is doing. But this is an opportunity for you to not go backwards. One day at a time, day by day, do your recovery work. Pray, read, get on your knees, cry. But remember what this feels like. Remember the hurt and the devastation that everybody is in, maybe because of your choices, and decide to never come back here again and to be willing to do whatever it takes to prevent this from happening.